Tour guides have the opportunity to visit many places and stay in many different accommodations across Japan. But they also find themselves staying in rooms where other customers refuse. The rooms with interesting circumstances, where sometimes strange things are rumoured to appear. There are quite a few tour guides who have had experiences that they can't quite explain. Because of this, word has it that there's a notebook that tour guides pass around. A notebook where they keep track of accommodations with ghostly sightings and strange happenings. In it they write down which hotel, which room, and what exactly they saw. If customers were to see this information, however, it would bring harm to the lodgings business, so it's something they keep very close to themselves. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Kowabana, bringing you both the best and worst creepypastas, urban legends, and true scary stories that the Japanese internet has to offer. Last week I posed the question of who would win, Sadako versus Kayako, and why? We had a few responses that I thought were interesting, so I'd like to read them out. One listener on our Facebook page said that Kayako would win, because Sadako needs her videotape to kill. Another listener said that it would depend on whether or not Kayako had watched Sadako's tape. But my favourite response comes from viewer Chris P. Bacon over on YouTube. Excellent name, by the way. He said, and I quote, "I'm going to take a shot in the dark and guess you watched the Sadako vs. Kayako movie. Much like the Freddy vs. Jason movie, there are no winners, only losers. And those losers being the people who sat through the movie expecting something entertaining and exciting." And I think that pretty much sums it up. So for this week's episode, we're delving into creepy happenings in the Japanese workplace. As you may know, the Japanese workplace has a reputation for long hours, busy work, and a complex social hierarchy. It's very rarely just fun and games, as these next stories will show. But first, I'd like to pose another question to you, our listeners. What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you at work or school? For me, I was working at a rather large English conversation school in Japan when it went bankrupt. You can easily find information about it on Google if you want, but we went around 6 full months, that's half a year, without any money whatsoever. I lived with some other teachers at the time, but not knowing whether we still had a job, if we were going to see our month's worth of missed wages again, or even if we were going to be able to eat the next day was pretty scary. A lot of my close friends just went back to their home countries, one by one, until I was one of the few teachers remaining. I still don't know how I managed to do it, but it was certainly an experience I won't forget anytime soon. So how about you guys? Let me know in the comments or at kowabana.net/podcast about the scariest things that have happened to you at work. So our first story today features a young man who finds a mysterious room hidden inside his company building. He's told to ignore it, but curiosity gets the better of him. What's inside? Find out in He Went Missing After That Email. There's a forbidden room in our company. It sounds like a lie, but it's true. It's really there. Our company is in a 3-story building. At the end of the 3rd floor, there's a supplies room, and in that room there's a door. I noticed the door when I went to grab some supplies after I first started working there. I asked one of my colleagues about it, but he just said, "Don't worry about it." When I looked from outside, I could see there was a room beyond that door with windows. The curtains are always closed, so you can't see inside. I thought it was a little strange, but I figured it was just a part of the storage room. About 1 month ago, Kay, a newcomer, was assigned to our department. His training finished in April, and he was now an official, shiny new recruit. As he was the new guy, he was often asked to do odds and ends, like I once had. One day, the new recruit Kay came to ask me a question. So, I went to the supply room just before, and I understood immediately. Ah, you mean the door? Yes, that's right. What exactly is it? Is there another storage room behind it? He had the same idea as me. I smiled. Well, actually, I don't know what it is either. I asked one of my colleagues about it a while ago as well, and they just told me not to worry about it. Is that so? It seems like it's locked, so it should open with a key, right? I don't know. I've never tried. If it's a storeroom, it should open, I guess. Yeah, I'll give it a try next time. He seemed like a curious fellow. I also wanted to know what was back there, so I told him to let me know if he tried. The next day he came back. It didn't work. The storage key wouldn't open it. Seemed like he went and tried to open it right away. It was no good, huh? Well, there's probably another key lying around somewhere. No, it looks like the door can't be opened from this side. Huh? The door is locked, but there's no hole to unlock it from this side. What? So, like, it's locked from the inside then? It would seem that way, yeah. I got chills. A door locked from the inside? What did that even mean? Whoever locked the door was on the other side? Well, it wasn't entirely implausible, but something seemed off. I wonder what it is. Is it someone's private office? Well, it's not like anyone's imprisoned in there because they can clearly come and go as they please. But then I realized something. Yeah, that's right. Like, there are people with autism and social shut-ins, eh? Hang on. Something's not right. What is it? Even if someone can open that door, there's no way to open it from inside the storage room. I was baffled. You could open that door from the other side, but there was no way to open it from within the storage room. Aside from the times people went to get supplies from that room, it was always locked, which meant that whoever was in there was locked in there. Ah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then even at night time, you never see any lights on in there from the outside. Kay was right. Even when returning home after working late, there were never any lights on in that room. With the gaps in the curtains, you'd be able to see. It's curious, right? Should we look into it a bit more? Well, maybe just a bit. The next day I left for a business trip. It was 3 days of apologizing to customers and drinking bad sake at corporate dinners. The first thing I heard upon returning was that Kay hadn't shown up to work. Then the next day, I heard he wasn't even at home in the apartment where he lived by himself. He hadn't returned home to his parents either. Kay had gone missing. Of course, I was concerned about that door in the storeroom. However, having just returned from a business trip, I was busy with getting all my things together, and so I was too late in realizing. The day after I left for my business trip, Kay sent me an email. I noticed it 3 days after I returned. Although my mail is set up to receive messages from particular senders, even on business trips, Kay was new, so my server hadn't yet been set to receive emails from his address. I know, excuses. The email was 1 sentence long, as follows. It opened. A few weeks have passed since then, but Kay still hasn't been found. I do my best not to go near that room anymore. I don't know if the door is the reason he went missing, but I believe it has something to do with it. The other day, I met the colleague I originally asked about the door. He's working at a branch office now, so it was the first time I'd seen him in a few years. I told him about Kay. When I did, he told me about the door. In summary, it was a little something like this. So 10 years ago, one of the employees who was curious about the door also disappeared. He started around the same time as my colleague. The location of the company is in a bad spot. He heard that it's an easy place for spirits to gather. When the company was established, a special room was built, and something was put inside. No one was allowed to go in. Nobody knows what was put in there. Maybe only the president knows. And of course, no one can ask him. There were rumors that it was an object of worship, or a strange jar containing a sacrifice. As I listened to his story, however, I asked him something that had been bugging me. But why is there a door? It's a room. It would be strange if there wasn't a door, right? Indeed. Of course a room would need a door. I had one more question. So, why are there windows? It doesn't need those. He went quiet for a moment. Then finally he answered. It needs them to lure people in. Don't look at the windows anymore, okay? If you see something up there, just pretend you didn't see anything. In my mind, I pictured Kay calling me from those windows. Every time I take the road beneath those windows, I feel someone looking at me. Someday I feel like I'm going to accidentally look up. Unable to put up with it anymore, I decided to put in for a transfer. Just like my colleague did. Now, I personally love this story. It's another of my favorites. Just what was in that room and why was it trying to lure people inside? We'll never really know, but I suppose that's half the fun, isn't it? This next story is about a potential and literal ghost in the machine. This one's called Connection Test. This happened one summer night a few years ago. My colleague and I were in a customer's computer room performing a connection test with a server in another building. The building we were in was one of those so-called buildings with a shady history. Apparently in the past, a young woman had jumped to her death from it. According to the computer section head at the time, when he set out for work in the morning, well, there was a tremendous amount of blood and lines of chalk in the shape of a person on the ground. There were also a lot of police officers and forensics investigating the area. Ever since then, it's said that various strange things have happened in that building. The connection test wasn't going well for either myself or my colleague, so we were getting annoyed. The line was connected and the equipment was all new. Our own tests went perfectly. So, was there a problem with the line between the buildings? No, that's not it, my colleague said to me. You don't think it's that girl who killed herself just messing around with us, do you? I asked. If so, there's no way I'm gonna let her get away with it. She's just taking advantage of the fact that we can't see her and hassling us like this. She needs to die. Well, she's already dead. Just then, a sound like that of wooden chopsticks being split or broken rang out throughout the computer room. Bucky, 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 putty, putty, bucky, bucky. It was like the sound of someone rapping. A few minutes later, the connection test that wasn't going well strangely worked. My colleague and I were silent until the test finished. His face turned extremely pale. I felt like I was going to cry. In the end, we never found out why the connection test didn't work. There's no way that there really was a ghost hindering us and then helping us out. I didn't want to think about it. As for what happened after that, the company we did the test for went bankrupt and no longer exists. Of course, the company I worked for at the time also went bankrupt. This is nothing more than my own thoughts on the situation, but perhaps the woman who killed herself was an employee of that company. Did she face some injustice from someone within the company and lose all hope? Then did she curse everyone connected to the company with bad luck? That's how I feel anyway. By the way, the whereabouts of the computer section head who saw the scene of the accident are currently unknown. Something I really miss about Japan is the convenience stores. Like, they really do have anything and everything you could ever need. They're everywhere, and they're open 24 hours a day. This next story is about a young man working the night shift alone. The doorbell keeps going off, but no one's there. Is he really alone? This one's called Working the Convenience Store Night Shift Alone. This took place sometime after Obon, I think. I was responsible for the night shift, so I was always cleaning the fryers, putting out stock, and other such things. Working the night shift at our convenience store is a one-man job, by the way. Then when I was in the storage room ordering some things on the PC, a false alarm went off. The ping-pong sound when a customer comes in, you know? I went back to the storefront straight away. "Welcome," I said, but there was no one there. Well, we often have false alarms, so I didn't really worry about it. It especially happens a lot during summer, when the moths come in. I thought perhaps it was just reacting to that. It's a mystery as to why it also happens in winter without any bugs though. I'd finished some work and it was 2 a.m. when customers generally stop coming into the store. So I went into the fridge and put out the juice and sake. You can't hear anything in there, so in order to hear if any customers entered the store, I kept the door open as I went about my work. But as we often have false alarms, you can't really count on the doorbell. Even if a customer comes in sometimes, it won't ring, and they'll be left waiting at the front counter. So every now and then, I look out from between the shelves in the fridge, just to see if there are any customers while I'm restocking. I was restocking the shelves for about 20 minutes, maybe? I was so involved I forgot to check if there was anyone there, so I peeked out from behind one of the shelves, and there was a customer right in front of me. He was staring at the Asahi Super Dry with vacant eyes. He then locked eyes with me. He looked like a tired, dispirited old guy. I was so scared for a moment I thought my heart would stop. I was looking out from behind the sake shelves, so I couldn't see the entire store, but I hadn't even noticed there was a customer. "Crap," I thought, and rushed out. I yelled out, "Welcome!" even louder than usual, in the hope that he wouldn't complain. But there was no one there. I thought perhaps he'd moved behind the shelves or somewhere, so I couldn't see him. I took a look around the store, but there was no one there. I even checked the toilet, but again, no one there. Was I mistaken? There was nothing else I could do, so I went back to work. But my heart was racing in my chest. Perhaps it was someone who had returned for Obon and just wanted to drink some beer. While pondering that, I finished putting the stock out, and I exited the fridge again when Bing bong! The bell rang out. Was it a customer this time? I went back out into the shop and again, no one was there. Maybe the person I just saw gave up and went home because they couldn't buy anything. I don't know why I thought that, but I yelled out, "Thank you very much!" as loudly as I could. I'm still working at that store this year. I haven't left yet. There are still an awful lot of false alarms. There are so many false alarms that I've taken to watching the surveillance camera to see if any customers are coming in the store. I can see them coming in, but when I go out, no one's there. Something that I really enjoyed during my time working in Japanese schools was the amount of effort that goes into making their graduation albums. They're certainly not cheap, often costing over $100 each, but for 3 to 6 years of memories, you can't really complain. Now, this next story is about someone who used to make those albums, and a strange experience she once had with a particular photo. This one's called I Worked at a Company Making Graduation Albums. They're bankrupt now, but I used to work for a company that made graduation albums. Photos would come in from all over Japan, and there were a few that were kind of like ghost photos. So such photos wouldn't get published. We would trim or Photoshop them. One particular photo was from a school excursion. There was a face in a spot where no face should be. Trimming the photo would ruin the balance, so I decided to Photoshop it. The work was easy, and I soon finished and sent it to the printer to check. But the face was still there. Maybe I'd printed the old data, or accidentally deleted the editing layer. So once more I opened the file and the face was there again. I edited it again, and this time with the edited file open, I sent it to the printer. But again, the face was still there. Of course, the face wasn't there in my open file, so maybe there was a problem in sending the data. I closed and opened the file again, but once more, the face was still there. No matter how much I edited, closed and opened the file, the face would always come back. I called a friend from a photo studio about it, but she also replied, "It just won't go away, huh?" My friend tried various things, but no matter what, the face always returned. In the end, only this class had to have a badly trimmed photo. In my whole life, there's never been another photo like this, where no matter what I did, it couldn't be edited. Our last story this week is about a young man who experiences something strange at the karaoke bar he's working at. Have the guests of a certain room been disappearing? Or were they ever really there to begin with? This one's called Karaoke Bar. This happened about 2 months after I started working at a karaoke bar. I was working the afternoon shift alone and looking at the sales slips on the front desk. It's so busy today. Am I gonna be alright by myself? I thought. But no particular problems presented themselves, and I was able to get on with my work. My free time for lunch ended, and the evening was fast approaching. A bunch of customers left at once, so I went around the empty rooms to clean them. I don't remember exactly in what order, but it was something like 1, 2, 5, 6, and 11. When I finished cleaning room 11, the last room, I returned to the front desk to confirm all the sales slips. Huh? I noticed something strange. The sales slip for room 11 was mixed in with all the rooms still in use. 11 was most definitely empty, so why hadn't they settled the bill? I freaked out. Did the customers from room 11 sneak out without paying the bill while I was cleaning the other rooms? Frantically, I called the phone number written on the slip. Someone actually answered, so I affected my best polite tone to urge them to pay. Hello? Yes, hello. This is from the karaoke bar. You were just recently in our establishment, but I noticed the payment has yet to be settled. I know it's a bother, but would you be able to return to the store so we could receive your payment? Ah, but I'm in right now. I'll come and pay in a second. I couldn't catch what she said exactly, but then she hung up. In any case, she said she was coming to pay, so I was relieved. A few seconds later, I heard footsteps coming towards the front desk from one of the rooms. Sorry, you just called. I'm here to pay. Where had she been until just now? I asked the girl, a high school student, which room she was just using. Room 11. I thought she must have confused the rooms, so I took her back down the hallway and asked again. She pointed to room 11. I was in here. I was confused. It was the start of my break time, and as I took the money from her, I wordlessly gave her the receipt. I'd forced her to go home. She didn't seem to think anything of it, but I felt bad. I tried to sort out my thoughts. What happened? I was just cleaning that room. If that girl was really still using it, but had stepped out for a moment, her bag should have still been inside. The drinks were entirely drained, and all the food was gone as well. Maybe she went to the toilet. But that was strange as well. She would have returned sooner. No matter how I looked at it, room 11 was empty at the time. There's no way I can clean a room unless I'm absolutely sure it's empty. Wait. Hang on. 3 names were written on the sales slip. So why was the girl the only one who came to the front desk? Things were just getting even more puzzling. My break ended, and I still had no idea what was going on. Another rush of customers left, so I went back around the empty rooms again. When I entered room 10, I saw the receipt I'd just given the girl from room 11, sitting on the table. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. If there are any other themes or stories that you'd like to see in future episodes, you can let me know in the comments. And don't forget about this week's question. What is the scariest thing that's ever happened to you at work or school? Thanks guys, and we'll see you again next week for more Kowabana, true Japanese scary stories from around the internet. Want even more scary stories? Head over to kowabana.net for new translations every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. You can also join our Patreon for exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. Head over to kowabana.net now.